Good evening. Welcome to this Mud Hut production. I hope we're all in our feelings tonight. We are immersing you in this virtual experience, reading you some poetry. We're going to be exploring our feelings, deep emotions, and we'd love for you to collaborate. Please scan our QR code, let us know your thoughts in the comments, drop some poetry if you feel called to, and we hope you enjoy the next hour away from us. First up, we have Bumi, who is actually the creator of Mud Hut. Bumi loves to infuse art and technology, and Bumi is going to be reading us a few of her poems tonight. So let's welcome Bumi to the stage.
Hi everyone. My name is Bumi, and I hope you're in your feelings tonight because I definitely am. I have a few things to share. So I have a couple of poems actually, and they go through different kinds of emotions I kind of find difficult and also I quite easily express. So the first emotion I'm going to cover today is pain. I think a lot of times it's one of the feelings we don't really want to come to terms with. We always want to push it down. We always want to push it down. And this poem is literally about that, about burying your pain, but also talking about how important it is to express your pain so you can move on from whatever is causing you pain. So this poem is called Pain. I hate being in my feelings. There is a lot of pain there that I wish to avoid, that I wish to bury, that I bury with good times, food, nothing a tub of Ben and Jerry's couldn't bury. But no matter how much I try to fill the landmass, that is my soul, it bubbles up, wanting me to address it like a friend, wanting me to cry with it, console it, laugh with it, smash something with it. And to be fair, that is when I am finally free, when I am finally in my feelings. So that was Pain. I hope you guys can relate to a bit of comfort eating there. My favorite thing to have when I'm in my feelings or when I don't want to talk about my feelings, a nice tub of Ben and Jerry's or Haagen Dazs, and yeah. But nowadays I have to do all this with a lactate pill. So talk about growing up. So my next poem is called Anger. And for me, anger is one emotion I kind of feel embarrassed sometimes to express because I feel like it's so raw that, and when it comes out, especially when it comes out unexpectedly, you don't know how the other person is going to react with it, and it can kind of consume you. So it kind of scares me. So a lot of times I don't want to feel my anger basically. So I wrote this poem kind of like of a story of a situation where I didn't want to express it. So this poem is called Anger. I wanted to yell at you today, scream at you, allow my anger flow, but you beat me to it. Your sadness overflows, changing the direction of my anger. Now it is back in me, till another day, I guess. When it slips out, Passive aggressive much, you say, and like a teenager sneaking out in the night only to be caught by their parents. My anger is dragged back in me. But today I exploded. I raged. I said all I had to say, some with tact, some without, some things I can never take back. You looked at me in dismay. I hurt you, but am I wrong for being in my feelings? So that was anger. I know sometimes it can, for me, is a very scary emotion because I just don't want to hurt people's feelings. But I'm slowly realizing that you just have to feel your feelings once in a while. So my next poem is called Joy. Oh, I love hearing how how loud we are together as they stare. Oh, how I love hearing how loud we are together while they stare. But they cannot understand this kind of joy. They cannot understand we were not allowed to have this joy at some point. That we were stripped of the joy at one point. So now that we have it, we cherish it. We hold on to it. We present to the world authentically, natural or not, enjoying our foods, music, culture, skin. Oh, this black joy. So much to be joyful for. They cannot understand why our joy is so loud. So that poem was called Joy. So if any of that resonated with you today, um, yeah, don't forget to scan the QR code and also tell us about what you're in your feelings about. Whatever resonates with you as we go through these different poems. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling happy, let this be a moment for you to express yourself, to feel free. So scan the QR code and just let everyone know how you're feeling today. So thank you. My name is Bumi and I have been in my feelings.
Thank you, Bumi, for that beautiful word. I think we can all agree that you've expressed a beautiful range of very different emotions there, allowing us to really explore the depth of our feelings, our experiences, and I hope that this has aroused some feeling, um, some deep introspection with the audience. And we'd love to know, please let us know in the comments how you feel about this and what this is bringing up for you. Next, we have Tony Verse reciting some of her poetry with us. Tony is an incredibly talented wordsmith who fearlessly grapples with intricate matters of self and identity, skillfully weaving them together with her eloquent language. Thank you, Tony, for joining us, and we'd love to hear some of your poetry. Please just welcome, Tony.
Hi. I had to check if there was another Tony in the room because those are such nice words. Now I'm feeling shy. But hi everyone, I'm Tony Bass, and it's a pleasure to be back here again. And this time I'm in my feelings. One thing that takes me to my feelings a lot is my friends. Whatever the situation is, whether I'm just like overwhelmed with like love for them or even heartbroken by them. But I feel like my friendships have, taken me on a journey of exploring my feelings, and that has made me articulate them in different ways. But as we know, all friendships are not not all friendships are like happy-go-lucky. Like when we think about our favorite sitcoms, like Girlfriends or Friends or whatever the show is, there's always a fight. And I remember one fight made me write probably the deepest poem I've ever written. So here goes my first piece called Look for Me. Look for me in your words as they tore me into little pieces. Your words scattered across many floors, my heart in your anger, my mind in your hurt. I'm everywhere and nowhere at all. I don't know where some bits of me have left, words and body alike, or if I can be put back together or forever lost in the gaps of the letters that you put side by side blank to make your soul-piercing sword. Look for me in your silence, in your words unsaid, in the reasons in my head, the whole of nothingness. Who I am floats through the air with no words to hold on to, truths and lies, and in-betweens pass by, but nothing within my reach. I am deep in the darkness, lost in your quiet, with no response to ever set me free. Look for me in the space you created, the one that was absence of grace. Who I am exists across from your divide, but I was never really given the chance to survive. As you fill the space with negativity of what was of me crumbled and died. Or maybe I'm not dead, I'm just beneath the rubble of your thoughts and perceptions of me that made us crumble, and there my cries have fallen to ears deafened by pain. Look for me in the tension of two pillars, running back and forth to hold them upright. Though it's not my personal issue, I can't seem to let go to not fight. For structure, the dissonance of what is and what might be have me running up and down, so where I'm here and soon to be there, I cannot be anywhere, therefore I give nothing everywhere, and seem missing when truthfully I'm lost. Look for me in the rivers of rejection where no's and unfortunately's flow. Unfortunately, I seek some source of refuge in finding immediate vocation as the self-devaluation enters the rotation, and I find myself stuck in an endless cycle of frustration, where there's more closed doors than slight cracks in the window, and darkness gives no room for cinemas of hope. There in the shadows, dejected, rejected, I lie. Look for me in the cracks of love, where I fell and you didn't notice I was gone, not because you didn't care, but problems of your own, and my cries were dismissed as shouts for attention. Where do rejects go when they eject from spaces that cause them tension? So they rather dwell in apprehension, and not to mention their address that they're stressed and depressed because everyone's got shit going on. Yes, these are the places that I lost myself to, and these are the places in which I grew, and these are the places that cause me pain, the spaces in which where bits of me lie. They differ from horcruxes as they are revived by influxes of love that construct me to who I once was, so that when you do look for me, I'm not lost in hurt, but found by love. That was Look for Me. If you can't tell, I felt abandoned. That was the feeling, and I was just giving people like maps on how to find me. But yeah, hopefully it stuck with someone. If you've ever felt lost or abandoned, maybe. But yeah, I guess for me, when I'm in my feelings, I get to a place where I just write about what I'm thinking, my thoughts, and as Bumi mentioned, pain. And what I tend to do in those moments is I tend to sort of find ways to write myself out of it. So one thing I did was I wrote promises to me. So this is promises. I promised that I would always get up on the hardest of days with the heaviest of hearts when my eyes were full of tears. I promised that when the weight of the world piles on me, trapping me beneath the duvet, I'd find strength to push it off and just be. I promised myself I wouldn't do it alone, even though I didn't want to be a liability. I'd ask for help, I would alert someone, but life is not to be lived alone. I promised myself that I would win this battle in my mind. I promised myself that I wouldn't run from love, no matter what my mind told me. I was allowed to feel down, to cry, to be quiet. I wasn't any less deserving. I promised myself I would always give thanks. In the middle of the storm, I'd find peace. In God and in gratitude and in all my blessings. I promised myself I'd survive. And then this next piece is about when you're in your feelings and you kind of create your own story. So I don't know if this happens to anyone where people say something or behave in a type of way, and instead of asking them why did they say that or what did they mean by that, we'll just be like, oh, this person doesn't care about me. How could they embarrass me by saying that? They obviously hate me. And then we run off into a tangent about something that has nothing to do with anything. And people are just reckless with their words, or they just, don't really know that the words will hurt. So this doesn't have a title, but maybe you guys can think of one. As you grow older, you have the tendency to protect your heart more, just as the Bible instructs. From the lessons of failed love to broken friendships. But what do you build your cage with? The metals of dishonesty, veiled by personal sentiment, feeding your heart with the hurt of lies, when they're no relevant and are in no way pertinent to the progression of life. It's easier to say that people don't care, to believe that no one wants you around, because you hear the sound of silence ringing louder than your phone, even though it's been on silent mode for the past 10 years. You have your guard up. But that guard is powered by insecurity. Ironically, your self-defense is actually quite weak because all it needs is a little love to break through, because you crave love. Yes, you do. But imagine how powerful you would be if you were to fuel yourself with relevant truths, the honesty of life, the individuality of beings, that all we do are not, that all of our actions are not reflections, but merely projections of our internal battles. Why not lean into simple understanding, where there's no indicative intention, or the lack of, inattention that we get from our friends, and simply accept that life sometimes just gets busy. And the last piece I'm going to share with you, it's just about expressing emotion when you're in your feelings. I don't know if anyone else gets choked up like I do, but I choke on my words to the point that I probably just start crying instead of saying words. So yeah, this is about that. And again, nameless, so feel free to suggest titles for me. I have 1,000 words at my tongue, but one is yet to be said. For they are tangled in motion, trapped by my feelings, scattered all over my head. There are words for pleasure and pain, words for peace and war, and words for the things that we don't have words for. As the words build up, they mount, they obstruct free flow and creativity. They begin to block art, ease, feelings, and all. For there's no release, no standing, no fall. They continue to pile up. Every word, every feeling, everything, all has meaning. Thank you. I'm Tony Bus, and I've been in my feelings.
Thank you so much, Tony, for sharing that with us. I am absolutely breathtaking. Yeah, so much depth there. Honestly, I can see that you've definitely found a way to express yourself really eloquently through your poetry, even though you say you struggle and feel tongue-tied sometimes. So, a different medium, essentially. Thank you so much. We are now going to invite both Bumi and Tony to the couch. We're going to actually discuss the poetry and go into some more detail on what's caused them to write these deep poems. I hope you're in your feelings by now. And again, please let us know in the comments. Please drop some lines of poetry. After this, we're going to get our assistant AI to help us. So, yeah, put some poetry in there and we can see what we'll generate after the discussion. Let's welcome both Bimi and Tony to the couch. Hi. Wow, both of you, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Where am I going to start? Yeah, definitely I can see for both of you, although for me it's a bit quiet. And Kelly says she might be a bit tongue-tied, but you both clearly express yourselves so clearly through your poems. And I definitely think so much of what you've said has been very relatable by me and everyone in the audience. And I'd like to actually explore the themes of your poems a bit deeper. I'm gonna start with Tony because what was that friendship poem? Wow.
Look for me.
Yeah. What was the driving force? I feel like we all definitely relate to changing dynamics in the friendship, feelings coming up we're not exactly sure how to deal with. I think that was a very deep poem, and you know it must have definitely struck a chord. So if you're comfortable, as much as you're comfortable to share with us, you know what was that situation about?
So fun fact, when I wrote that poem, I was crying. Yeah. In say 2021, I had like a really like heavy year. And there was just like so many things that went wrong. And this was the back of COVID, so like we've been indoors already, and there were just like so many friendship breakdowns, and there was stuff going on with family as well, and everything was just falling apart. And it got to a point where I just couldn't, like, I couldn't do anything, and I went into a depressive episode. I remember, and it was really, really bad. Like, I wasn't eating, I wasn't speaking to anyone. Like, I just had like two friends that had access to me, and one was just to call me and pray every morning, and then the other was literally just to be like, "Have you eaten? Have you eaten? Have you eaten?" And I'm like, "Girl, I don't eat." Like, and then when I decided to start sort of like rearing my head, you just open the door. It was like everyone was just like, "You abandoned me. Where were you when I needed you?" Blah blah blah. And I was like, did anyone actually look for me? Like, how am I supposed to show up for you guys when I can't even show up for myself? And I just kind of felt like I needed to tell everyone where I was and what was going on. And I wrote the first one. Like, I didn't want to tell everyone. Like, I didn't want to be like, "Oh, you didn't believe my side of the story." It was just more of a, if you look deep enough, you find that like you buried me deep in how you feel about the version of events. If you look deep enough, you'll find that I've been dealing with like hundreds and thousands of job rejection. If you look deep enough, you see that like I'm literally running back and forth with my parents like ongoing divorce thing. Like, and this was just like loads, and it was like there's so many look for these because there's so many things happening. And like I was like, look, if you listen deep enough, you'll find this manual of like, if you ask me, oh, what's going on with you? Like, this is literally everything that's going on. And I got to like 7 stanzas. I was like, oh god, hold on, like, come on, come on.
I need
Like,
to stop now.
At this point, I was just like, you two look for yourself, like, do something. But yeah, it was a call for help more than anything. And then after I wrote that, I was just like, yeah, we're gonna go find ourselves.
That's so lovely to hear. And how would you say that's progressed since then? I hope you're in a much better space now.
100% in a much better place. Nobody looked for me. But it was good because it forced me to do like my own self search and everything, and just look for things like redefine what I wanted in all of these things, like in the relationship with my family members, in relationships with friends, redefine like exactly what I wanted in terms of the job, and like it just made me like look for what I wanted, look for me in those things as well. Because as much as you can tell people to look for you, like you have to look for yourself. You have to be there for yourself. So I showed up for me, and I'm in a much better space. And this is not to say that my friends don't have me or anything, like because I was able to define what I wanted from from my friendships. The ones that were worth it are still here. Essentially.
Yeah, that's definitely lovely to hear. And I know how important it is to have friends that actually support us and look out for us, even if it's just to call and find out if we've nourished ourselves for the day.
Honestly.
Yeah, definitely when you're in a low state, things that seem so simple like eating, making your bed, just seem like such.
Like, sorry, I just remember the story, and I say the story all the time because like it's still mind blowing to me. So when this was all happening, I remember one day like my boy messaged me. His name's Claude. He's like, "Oh, Tony, like, how are you?" And I was like, "I'm not good. Like, honestly, I don't even have the energy to pretend I'm okay. Like, I'm not good." And then he came, picked me up, and we went to Nando's, and I couldn't even finish a quarter chicken. Like I couldn't. I was just like I'm struggling. And then we were just walking back to the car, and Amazon Fresh had just opened in our area, so he's like, "Oh, let's go inside." And he's like, "Okay, you can have this for lunch tomorrow." And I was like, "But I've got plans." He was like, "Yeah, then have that for dinner." I was like, "Okay, fine." And then I got home, and then I went to bed. I didn't have breakfast, and then in the morning he's like, "You had lunch yet?" I was like, "No." He goes like, "Okay, move lunch to dinner to tomorrow's lunch. I'm taking you out for lunch." And I was just like, wow. And I remember like the word I kept feeling in that season was abandoned.
Yeah.
But then, and I was like, when I got home, I cried. Yeah. But then when that happened over like those 2-3 days, I just remember thinking, I'm never like, no one's actually abandoned me. Just I guess I'm looking for friendship with the wrong people. So yeah, it's really nice.
Definitely taking that step back to look for ourselves and defining what we actually want out of things rather than the other way around can be really helpful for us moving forward and deciding what direction we want to navigate our lives in. So yeah, that's really lovely to hear, and I'm so happy you're in a much better space now, sharing this with us. I hope this helps anyone in the audience who is potentially in a similar situation. Sometimes introspection can be helpful. And wow, let's talk pain.
Oh wow,
Pain.
Let's talk pain.
Let's talk pain.
Guys, don't finish yet.
Wow, there are so many striking adjectives in that poem. Like, I can tell she wrote that, bro, when she was in her feelings. Like, what was that? What brought those emotions up?
So I realized there's something that happened to me and I hadn't really processed like the pain. I think I didn't want to process it like for years, and then something happened and then it just triggered a mountain of, you know, when you're like, oh, I'm fine, I haven't thought about this thing for like weeks, and then I saw something and it was like I exploded, and then I just realized that like I do bubble down my pain. I don't like feeling that emotion. If I just want to be happy, good, lucky. I feel like life is hard enough. But then I realized also that like through that experience that I was also eating my feelings. And it was because of the pain. And when I let that all out, it was painful. I cried. Whatever, but then I felt a relief, like just even knowing what was going on in me internally. It's funny because pain is actually linked to the anger poem. They're actually like connected.
I'm glad we all picked up the line.
Yeah, so
She's not gonna talk about the anger. We're not gonna
so
get
the
that.
anger came first, and then the pain came afterwards. And yeah.
But that's interesting though, because you eat your pain, whereas I can't look at food when I'm like in my feelings, and it's annoying because I like food. So it's just sort of one of those things. I'm just like, why don't I have an appetite? Like, everything just.
It's funny when I'm feeling the pain, then I don't want to eat. But if I'm suppressing it, then I'm like,
You're something to like distract you, something else to kind of focus on. And it's very interesting that you say that actually through expressing that and through going deep within yourselves to like look at the emotions that you don't want to, that's what actually like gives you the release. I can definitely say that you're so brave for going deep into yourself to look at what's actually causing that trigger for you.
Yeah.
Life can be so like harsh with you sometimes when you are being so stubborn. Like it just doesn't let you get away with things. So yeah, definitely things come up and then trigger you, and it's like, okay, now I have to go back into my closet and dig these boxes up.
Yeah. Because what's funny for pain is that like the thing that triggered the pain and the anger actually happened in the pandemic. And I think I was
happening in the pandemic.
Yeah, but I think
it was hard. I think we actually underestimated the impact of the pandemic on our personalities as people. Like I think for me, I was just coasting through until I got to this like point. I was just like, oh my god, there's so many things that I'm feeling because everything was so intense, like in your face, because you have to be like you were either isolated or like it was just so scary times. No, not again. Wash your hands, wear this mask.
It's true. I see that like people keep using hand sanitizer.
Don't stop, guys.
Yeah, no, like I definitely feel like in the pandemic, I think my mind just went into let's just function.
Yeah.
And other things we'll deal with them later. Yeah. But let's just be in a place where we get through this because
that is definitely the mindset when you're going through something difficult. It's like, I can't think about this too much. I need to just get through and come out on the other side. Like, I don't even have energy to overthink this too much, like in the here and now. Sometimes actually experiencing deep things and feeling them can be really overwhelming. Yeah. So it's like, I can't actually deep too much that this is really happening. Like, let's just pretend it's not.
Sometimes I split my day into blocks to deal with the day. Like I mean, when life gets overwhelming, I'm like, you know what? Let's just do these 6 hours.
Yeah.
Then we'll do the next 6 hours.
That is an amazing.
And then we'll do the next 6 hours. And then we'll do the next 6 hours. And guess what? Finish 24, and then we go again.
That is.
And something that can definitely be picked up from that is just presence. Like being in the here and now, feeling your emotions here and now, regardless of how painful or uncomfortable it might be, and knowing that, you know, emotions are just visitors and they're gonna leave.
That is actually
they're gonna leave.
I love that.
I've got a poster where it says emotions are just visitors passing through. Because it's similar to you. I did have a similar kind of like low episode, and I was like, I need to remember that I'm not always going to feel like this, or even when I'm frustrated, I'm not always going to feel like this, so I don't need to take it out on people. There are ways to kind of go inside and you know, think about how we feel about things and use that as a way to actually move forward. So yeah, congrats to both of you on your bravery and progress in writing all that. I'd love to kind of go a bit deeper now into kind of your poetry journeys. I think both of you write amazingly well, and the feelings are expressed so clearly through your poetry that I'm wondering how long you've actually been at this, because you must seem very experienced.
Well, actually, my love for poetry actually came kind of late, because originally, what I loved writing was plays. Like I would dabble in poetry and I like dabble in songwriting, but like my real thing was actually like I loved writing plays. And then in 2020,
I sure was 2020.
Girl.
2020, like
everything went down that year.
Yeah, it was just difficult for me, and I couldn't write full-length plays. Like I'm even still trying to get over that, and but then I just had so much things I wanted to express, and I'm actually like one thing I've worked on like in the past couple of years, like expressing myself like verbally, whereas before I'm the kind of person that I'll just go and get angry by myself, and then I'll calm down and I'll move on, or I'll just, if someone offends me, I'll just cry and I'll move on, or I'll just, if it's too much, I'll just stop talking to you and I'll move on. And someone told me it's actually not fair because the person doesn't know why you're upset. So, I wasn't just great at putting my feelings into words, and then I couldn't write plays because before I write like a full-length play, and if you didn't know me, you just think, oh, she's just writing. But then if you were my friend and you watched my play, you'd be like, I know exactly what this situation is about. Exactly. Even know like it might be set in a different premise, or you just know like I know exactly what she was on about. Like the audience doesn't know because they know in my mind, but my friends who know my story are like, girl, did you have to write a full length play for this? But then I started writing poetry because it was like smaller blocks of writing, and it like allowed me like express myself, and I didn't have that anxiety of I need to write like a full length play. I still want to do that actually, like still write full length plays, like just expressing things, complex things I see in the world. But I think I really enjoyed poetry because it helped me like express my feelings in small blocks. And then that also helped me from going from writing my feelings to also like being verbally more open with my feelings. And I've seen like such huge improvement that I'm like, I think poetry really helped with that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's also a huge theme of relief alongside, getting more comfortable, being assertive, being more confident, being more verbal. There's a huge theme of relief through exploring how you feel and actually being able to come out from that and feeling okay, feeling like, okay, that wasn't too bad. And using your art, your poetry, and plays as a healthy channel for you to kind of move forward from both difficult things or express a lot of joy that you have. So I'm grateful that it's kind of being, I call it a good like channel, or is it just like a way to move forward, and actually it creates beautiful art as well. So there's that.
It's definitely a great channel. It's definitely a great channel.
Yeah. And Tony, what about you?
So this year is the official 15th birthday of Tony Bass.
Happy birthday!
I can't believe Tony Bass is a teenager. Like, she's got attitude.
I know! Sweet 16 is coming soon.
We're gonna have a party!
That's why she's you.
No, but my interaction with poetry started from when I was so much younger. Like at 8 years old, I went to drama school. So I was trained in drama, and for exams we had to perform poems, and that just meant that first of all, like we're reading like random poems about swings, and I liked it. I was like, this is different. And then when I got into secondary school, I used to write poems. I used to write a lot. I used to do stories, poems. I wouldn't, maybe not full length plays, but I did one or two things like that. And I remember like when I was in senior school, like one of the teachers came to me and was like, you have to perform at the school assembly.
Shout out to those teachers. Shout out to the back then. It's like, oh my god, why are you being so like extra?
I was guessing, when you're stepping like the peak puberty, like everything is coming in, you're getting your ass, I'm 15. Essentially I was 15. So I was just like, perform, like, ew. But then also I was kind of gassed. I was like, oh my god, perform. But she said, so I went and I performed, and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like, and then when I left uni, when I left secondary school and I was in A levels, I remember like I was just going through so much, and I wanted to tell everyone that I was going through things, but I didn't want to specifically say what it was. So I remember I used to call my poems back then concealed revelations.
Oh, I love that.
So they would literally be like deepest darkest secrets. I dress them in like language and figures of speech and literary devices. And people were like, oh my god, this is so nice. And I'm like, can I see it? But then when I got to uni, someone like went through my stuff and they're like, you should definitely like get up on an open mic. And then I did that, and I was just like, okay, you know what? Performing these pieces makes them like, it just frees them. Like I said, the release, and then I just literally just went on from there. And it's just been like a journey. Like, poetry's done so much for me, not just in terms of like being able to release. Like, I deliver poetry workshops in schools now. I run workshops independently. And I've just worked on different projects in poetic ways, and it's just like, so cool to see the lengths and breadths in which poetry has developed for me.
Yeah.
And I think because of it, I imagine like this whole world of poetry. Like, my brand name is Tony Verse, but like people, it's a double entendre. So it's Tony verses and verses of poetry, but then it's also Tony verses in a whole universe of poetry.
Yeah.
And essentially, that's who I am. Like, poetry is me. And I think more recently, when you go into a room, they're like, oh, so what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a poet. Like, now I don't. Before I used to be like, oh, I do this, I do